Hello, welcome to Take a Moment with Moira for Moira Amusement. I am Moira K. West, and I welcome you to my channel. Follow along, subscribe. I'm just beginning. I've been working on this project for 30 years. The project is me so far, and I would like to continue into my channel to inspire others in any way that they would accept. But I've been frozen in time, and it's very difficult to approach this topic in this video. I had made a whole bunch of notes and maps and have come at this video every which way, but it hasn't been authentic. It hasn't come off in the way that I need it to, because it's a very sensitive subject and there's multiple ways to go at it, and if I only stick to one, then I feel inauthentic and not like it doesn't truly express how much work and confusion and just overcoming and growth. It won't show it if I don't approach it in every which way. And I've been overly cautious in the attempts to put things out there, because I'm not doing the video for sympathy. Quite the opposite. Everybody's has their issues with showing love, and I too am part of that. But my main issue is receiving the love or support or sympathy or even a simple compliment. I always push it away because I'm too self-independent, lean on myself my entire life, and when I get approached by others, you just never take them the right way, okay? And nobody ever takes me the right way either, because I am the whole spectrum of expression and emotion and understanding and compassion, and I am way too involved with how I make other people feel. That's what being a people pleaser is. I am way too involved with how other people feel to actually stand in my own and claim my space that I have earned, okay? And so, like, this video is beyond complicated and real and disturbing, all the triggers. I don't mean to make anybody feel less of a victim than they rightfully have been. There's three types of people that would be watching this. There's the first type that's, oh my goodness, I had no idea, that poor little thing. Like, that's not the type of person I am. Like, yeah, it's extremely out there. And I just want to bring an awareness to some of the closet monsters that are always pushed away and misunderstood and selfishly twisted. Whoever's monsters it is, whoever is encountering the monsters, everybody makes it about themselves. So either they're like, oh no, poor thing, or another type of person that would be receiving this video is whoa, I can't believe she said these things. I've been through something like this, and I have either hid it, held it in, used it against myself. I know other people use it against me too. It's a huge problem. How come nobody talks about this? It's the struggles that empower you after awareness and light and healing and love is brought into the situation. And then, this is a huge problem here. Okay, the third type of person that's going to be watching this video. Either they're going to be like, yo, she crazy, and no way. Like, straight up, no way, she's crazy. Who is she to sit here and project these things onto everybody? And those are the type of people that are like, I didn't do it. I'm not guilty. Admit it to whoever, yourself or never. That's on you. You and your God is going to have to deal with that one day. And I've been trying to keep it classy because my main concern are the people who can relate to me. And I don't want to approach the topics to the person that is like already stressed out and shut down and disassociated with reality around them in the same way that I want to talk to the people that know they got these same skeletons in their closet and they don't care, they don't want to do nothing about it, they ain't get busted, you know, it's still working for them, so we gonna keep going. And then we got the higher class of like, oh no, I didn't know that was a thing. It's too hard to keep it in one tone. This video is not going to be in one tone. And that's just how I finally need to express it. Because I've done so much. I'm such a chill person, such a loving person. I literally give and have for my 30 years. I'm 30 years old. I have given every bit of myself that I was able to build up to benefit others. Okay? And in the other times that I'm not literally piecing myself out for other people, I'm either like sad, tired, exhausted. We all know that these phases and changes are exhausting and confusing. And we all work through things in our own way. So, if I haven't been giving myself out every second and moment of me, which I don't mind because I really, really care about other people and I love other people, and no matter who it is or who has done me dirty, I always wish the best for them. No matter who it is, I've forgiven these people way before I was able to surface my own shame and guilt and feeling like I'm not enough for everybody, even though I have been nothing but something for everybody. It's just, I have to release it finally to bring balance, because I can't move on. Spirit, God, will not let me continue and start a new project. It's like I'm a little kindergartner. Like, clean up time, clean up your crayons before you go to freaking recess. Okay? Or before it's time for math. So, I'm gonna put my crayons in your box. Okay? I gotta let it out there. I'm a metaphorical person too. Yeah. Humor me. I'll enlighten you. Take what you want. Please don't take offense. That's not my goal. But I'm not going to tiptoe for anybody until this part is done, because I am over it. I'm fed up. And I would like to move on, you know? Like, smiley face, gold star, let's go. So, while explaining these situations or details, please understand that I am not angry with the people for the situations that I've been through. The only thing that still has me really fired up, you know, burning my biscuits, is the fact that I cannot be fully expressive at the moment, because I'm still overly concerned with how my expressions will affect other people. You know that saying, you can't please everybody? But at the same time, those who understand will applaud you for standing within your knowledge, experience, whatever. Okay, so I'm not I've never seen myself as a preacher. I've always been a shadow lingerer, dealing with the depths of the monsters that are right next door to you. You never like put the light on them. You're too, I say you're because there's 3 different types of people here. Don't take it personally unless you need to take it personally. Okay, so your monsters are right next door. Your monsters are your brothers and your sisters, and you have your own monsters within you that you picked up, that have latched on, and that still affect other people. Okay? And nobody pays attention to this. Nobody pays attention to this. We all know these monsters exist. You want to act like monsters don't exist? Whatever. I don't know what world you're living in. We're all here for a reason. We all have a purpose. We all have these experiences that we cycle through and grow into another cycle, as long as you finally like finish the last cycle. You have to bring things to a completion before time will allow you to move forward, and opportunities to approach, but you have to move forward and put a close to things. So here I go. I'm okay. It's just, I've literally done this video way too many times. I've already introduced myself a million times. I have a whole bunch of people in my family that I created. I have 4 kids and a husband that have been more than patient with me trying to get this out there. But it hasn't come out the right way because I haven't been able to like speak how I speak, because I'm worried about how other people will take it and take it or leave it. So it's been a long time. So I'm gonna just kind of stay on track. It's been too hard to stay on track. I bounce back and forth. It's just how it's been coming out, and I gotta get to it. God gives us our story so we can experience it, learn from it, and share it with others in order for them to like expel their monsters, right? The Shadow Slayer, like some Oscar, the Shark Slayer. So my experience, I've never been religious either, so like I didn't even know that a trials and tribulation story is a testimony until my aunt was like, whoa, you got a testimony to share. Because I've been on my own. Everybody left me on my own, okay? So I've learned and come into spirituality and created a relationship with God, Spirit, Source, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. The Holy Ghost, you know, whatever direction name you want to call it. My relationship to faith. I have always had faith and a sense of purpose through the depths of my rock bottom situations. And that's why I'm still living and breathing here today. And I'm usually a really happy person and super creative and super caring. But I can't be right now because there's issues that I've held onto for so long. And expressing something, I was watching a video on YouTube and they're like, just because you need to finally express something doesn't mean that you didn't heal it, you know? The fact is that these are facts and this is where I came from, and it's nobody's business to actually judge me or have opinions, because I've already dealt with my own friggin' shame toward situations and confusion, because I held myself overly accountable for the effects that I inevitably caused for others. Because if you can't take accountability for your actions, then you're just like, you're not connecting authentically. So I've held myself overly responsible for the things that I went through, because that's what I was trained to do. That's how I was raised, and it's been really hard to allow myself to accept the same wisdom and guidance or support that I am capable of giving others. And nobody, it's because I have nobody around me that understands me, cares about me. They all have their projections toward me. They all hear or have seen what I've been through and assume that I'm like, everybody just underestimates me, and it kind of makes me very angry. Like, I would go full on with my language, but you know, it's not necessary. So, my family life, my childhood, I'm only 30, so you would think that it was like just a few things to talk about, but it's the worst spiral in the world. But I always know that somebody else had it worse than me, and I'm grateful for being able to wake up. And you know, it's just the double edge here, the scales being back and forth. That's a hard problem, is to balance yourself and accept and be able to express in a balanced manner too. So in my childhood, my upbringing, my entire family consisted of me being the youngest child. I have a sister that's like 2 years older than me, and then the other sister is like 5 or 6 years older than me. So we were heavily influential to each other. I have a mother and I had a father. None of it was a happy story, and there was no white picket fence anywhere in my life, and there's still not. So I was born in Detroit, Michigan. My sisters were just a little bit older than me. My mother was our main caretaker throughout majority of our life. My father was absent, to say the least. He had come and gone many times. When he was home, it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't pleasant at all. He was in and out of incarceration for poor choices and addictions, and you know, it's the system. It's how the system works. So he was in and out on drugs, come and going, violent when he was home, extremely violent, extremely authoritative, because I'm big and you're little, I'm right and you're wrong, and there's nothing you can do about it, and this is my castle, and how dare you disobey me, you know, or how dare you be in my presence and not be of use. I may speak harsh, but I don't hold it against people. I have to feel the situation as I explain it. I am way past this now, so don't act like I'm like holding it against them. But you know, I haven't expressed it, and everybody's gonna take me differently, but it is what it is. And I'm not trying to make anybody else, see, look at me, I'm doing it again. I'm not trying to make anybody else feel like, why did you put me out there like that? Man, it's my story. Let me speak my piece. So, my dad was in and out. He was a very violent and disruptive. Alright, I ran out of space. I fixed it. Okay, so he was a very disruptive presence when he was home. Ripple effect, let's keep that in mind with tendencies and impressions and how things attach to somebody's persona, character, subconscious. We are a collection, right? We are a big old collection of our experience. So he was very disruptive. My mother, bless her heart, we have a good relationship now, and I have forgiven her and tried to explain that I'm okay now, and I'm sorry how she feels for how things turned out, or how things went about. But it's like, if I could go back then, I would change this, that, and the third. Personally, not I, because now I am strong and confident and know what, have a great sense of right and wrong, to say the least. So I'm not saying anything to put anybody down or pull you out of your own shadow. If it helps, then hey, that's some good healing for you. So my mom did the best she could. She was head over heels in love with my father. You know, it's just the type of love that just constantly drags each other down in one way or another. But it's that magnetized love that's just so fulfilling when things are good, but things are not always good, and we prioritize ourselves over the benefit of others majority of the time. So she was already exhausted with being treated how she was, rightfully so. So that affected her capability of showing up in a supporting manner, not to mention the freaking effects of her mother's problems being projected onto her, and then my mother projected her problems onto us, and everybody's so tired, and it's just been a terrible cycle. And I know people definitely relate to that, and nobody understands it, and I have a few words of wisdom. So her effects were already affecting us. You know, we were broke, cold, barely surviving, doing the best we can during the times that we were in. So we ended up moving. I've moved a ridiculous number of times in my life. So we moved out of Detroit. I was a baby. Who knows exactly how that went after that? You know, my sisters and my mother do. So there was already abuse and absentness and substance and anger, depression, baby stage. Child stage, we lived in West Branch, and my father still was coming in and out the jail when he was home. The parents were fighting. There's fights and glass, and everybody was getting punished, and everybody had to tiptoe around the boss of the house. You know, it was what it was. The parents were substantially influenced and mentally damaged, so the time passing activities and humor was just freaking treacherous, and they used us children, us girls, as either some sort of like servant, the butt of their jokes, their punching bag to their aggressive release, to, you know, the effects of how we use others in every aspect needs to be considered. to say the least. Abusive situations are freaking irritating to me. There's many details that just get me tempered. So I don't think details are quite so necessary right now. I'd rather get through this. Abuse. Beyond belief. Lots of abuse. So they split from each other in and out of prison. Mom ended up marrying somebody else. That didn't work out too well, but he was pretty cool. He still had his own problems. Like, I remember being like a little beer waitress at like, what, 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. That's inappropriate. I'd like to highlight how important it is to keep children in a child-friendly environment to the best of your abilities, okay? Don't just let things fly because it's selfish and damaging to other people. So that relationship didn't work out very well. They ended up getting a divorce. I had one friend during that time. I hung out at her house a lot. I had way too much freedom. I was always trying to hang out with my sisters, but they didn't want the little girl following them constantly, which I did for, you know, as many years as I could, because I needed some company. So they resented me for always being clingy to them. They felt as if I had special treatment because I was treated more gentle in a way during the connection to, I guess, my mother, because she was the only one there. You know, as a parent, you're so frustrated, but then you can hold your baby and feel the unconditional love. And the sisters had seen my treatment of occasional expression of love, being on the receiving end, and it didn't sit well with them. So it created more feelings. And feelings are very tricky to guide yourselves through, to understand and accept. So I already wasn't very appreciated by, you know, the people that were my family, or supposed to be my family. So we moved out of there. There was like a country setting. I was always alone, wandering, playing in water, under the bridge, hanging out at the playground, exploring more places than I should have been, in a safe way at that point, because I was only like 6. So we moved out of the country and into a city and an apartment complex at that. I was like 6, 7 when we got there. That puts my middle sister at about 9 or 10. The other one at like 13, 14. Dad was still in and out. He came with torture when he was there. We were starved, physically abused. Our punishments were exercise, board of education, verbal abuse. Like, you know, it just ran in the family. That's how they learned how to express themselves. Unfair treatment, to say the least. We were molested as well. It's hard to express that the terrible people took advantage of you, and that's the only kind of people you knew, but it's true. So I was like 7 years old by the time I had already been introduced to sensual activities. Nothing like full on deflowering at that point, but there was still activities that I had been introduced to at like 6 years old, and the exposure of inappropriate stuff into the community and the people that are around, and then like hanging out with the older crew, because that's just what I did. I was already more mentally mature than the like, let's play with Barbies. Like, ain't nobody got time for that. So I was watching, absorbing, already introduced, so like in a sense accepting, brainwash, like it was a whole wash. There's no brain to wash. That's just the conditioning, right? So parents were fighting, parents were on drugs, the children were used, abused, and turned against each other already, unfortunately. Everybody wanted to like put on a smile and fake it to not draw attention to themselves, because we had already dealt with a lot of cops, child protective services, you know, judgments from the parents that were already terrible judgments, you know, because of their own trauma and damage. So everybody just like turned a blind eye and downplayed the situations, or expressed the fact that we're all in turmoil inwardly, and having to hear your problems is not what I want to do. What am I going to do to help your problems? You might as well keep it to yourself, because you're just going to paint yourself in a nasty light and nobody's going to understand you. So just shut up and go do what you got to do. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying that's how it was. So everybody deals with their feelings differently. People always turn to the wrong things, and they hold their broken selves together the best they can to continue for the next day. So there's already feelings of like worthlessness. Like, we grew up knowing that we were freaking worthless, and everybody was just mad at us for being, for existing, okay? So my father ended up passing away, and as a little girl I should have been sad, but we were all very relieved, and the sisters expressed it in like a about time. I'm glad, you know, it was excuse me, he was no good anyway. Like, good, now we're free. It's a sense of freedom. And I was 7 years old and was like, you know, I agree. Now we don't have to be worried to go home. Like, it was really bad. I had missed the bus when I was in like 2nd grade, and I was too scared to go home. So my, 8-year-old self, or like 7-year-old self, walked 5 miles to school because I knew I couldn't go home. You know, it's just bad times. So father passed away, sent my mom over the edge. How's she gonna take care of us and the bills with no support? Because some support was better than none at all. So now she's feeling indefinitely alone, confused, drowning with these girls that are just at each other and at her, because she had chose to support him and his needs over the effect of how it caused harm to us. So the sisters were extremely angry about that. Mom was devastated and taken away. She turned to alcohol and became an alcoholic for many years. It was really bad. She definitely got in trouble with the law because of it. she wasn't immediately able to say, I learned a lesson. So she like pushed through it while continuing to do it, and really all it caused was like extra expenses that kept us even more hungry and her more stressed. She had to actually like go to jail herself as a single parent, so she had friends, and we all know friends are not friendly. That's like, what can you do for me? What do I gotta do for you? That's how relationships have always been in my life. I'm here to start over, but that's how relationships have always been in my life. It's like, what are you gonna do for me? Or what do you got? So we were left with friends, and they were on drugs and alcohol too. Not all of them were touchy. They were definitely all opinionated and disgusted by our behavior because we were at each other's throats, to say the least. So then she came back. She was still drinking, doing what she had to do, extremely stressed. She was working all the time, trying to take care of the financial obligations. Her highest priority was to keep us together as a family. That's all she knew and had like tried to maintain, was to keep us together as a family, because it's just the best she could do. So we still had no like guidance, discipline, support. We had each other and we hated each other. It was like an obligation to even be in the presence of each other. There was not many like fun, calm times. Of course we all like chilled out and had like a dance party from time to time, but the happy times didn't last long. So I went like Gothic in 6th grade. That was a good year of school. Elementary, I was in and out, didn't absorb much from it. It was definitely a broken education my entire life. 6th grade was a good year. I had good grades, but I was like really damaged and alone. Didn't have any friends. I hung out at the library a lot, watching music videos to help cope and like teach myself, to explore some interests, to kill time in a safe manner at that age. We moved out of that house, so that takes me to like 7th grade in a different apartment, which puts my sister at like 9th grade. She had a terrible time in school. She went to the alternative school. The other sister had escaped the living scenario with like a boyfriend at the time, and then she ended up getting married and finishing her high school. She graduated, yay for her. But she was gone pretty much out of the scenario. She came and went and seen how like terrible it was, and she was like, it's not my responsibility, but I still have care and concern, so when I'm around, I'm gonna like be around, but it's not my problem. I'm gonna go and start my own life. Cool. So middle sister was a handful and super cocky, pretty vicious. We all develop our thick skin, right? That was her thick skin. Me, I'm already out here being a full-on teenager at like 10 years old. I already started smoking cigarettes, was drinking my mom's alcohol, the neighbor's alcohol, was building up my tolerance. Had already been introduced into the adult bonding activities. I hadn't went all the way down that journey yet, but when I turned 11, my sister and I explored the neighborhood together, and we were both like rebels with thick skin, knowing everything we needed to know. So I was 11 years old when I actually did lose my virginity. Yes, I don't know what the percentage is. Yes, I put myself into these situations, which I hold myself accountable for, because it gets really, really, really raunchy. Because I seen that this type of survival was pretty easy, okay? And it was, you know, it felt good to be on substance instead of in my reality just suffering through each freaking moment of every day. So we were just partying through our life. So I was 11 years old. The other person was 19. Inappropriate. His name was Scorpio, which is why I was like, ew, because I'm a Scorpio. So it was like, ew, how romantic. I never seen him again. The neighbor introduced marijuana to me and my sister. I don't know if it was her first time or not. It was my first time. They were like, ha ha ha, what's the 11-year-old gonna look like on weed? So the 36-year-old neighbor didn't have a problem supplying the minors. And so there went that. And not too long after that, he also introduced me to crack at 11 years old. And talk about taking my mind for a ride and conforming to the toxicity and the addiction. And that was only like 4 years after my father had just passed away from doing that. Like, so I heard it. I was like, hey, I'll try it. That was the same age I was offered heroin for the first time. And no, I was like, whew, I'll pass on that one. But these people are sitting there like going out their mind, offering a like 11-year-old these hard things, guys. These are your neighbors. These were our neighbors. But everybody was too busy with their own problems to acknowledge or be like, where's my kid? Right? It is her fault as a parent. I'm a parent. I know I'm not going to let my child out there to do that. But she did the best she could, and I forgive her. I understand as a parent. But, like, trying to heal back through these things, it's verbatim to acknowledge it. So, 11 years old, addicted. Addiction that is mixed with everything else adults drown themselves with was what I knew how to survive. I didn't have what I needed at home, and that goes from like clothes, it was hand-me-downs, it goes from like food. We shared cans of beets and vegetables, and we didn't have nobody to be like, oh, you're so special. So the people who finally found out that I was special, because we are all special, they took what made me special at that time, because we can always build ourselves back up. So they liked it when I shared my special and made them feel satisfied. So I was a user of the substance for about a year. During that year, it was not just one 36-year-old who wanted to take advantage of me. But at the same time, I was there and I went and found more trouble because I needed to go find more supply for my demands, my basic necessities. And obviously that brought the law, that brought attention, that brought more abusers into my life. It brought more stress to my mother, and my sister. It brought lots of disappointment, disgust, and embarrassment to the family. It brought shame and embarrassment to the family. And so the only time that I would actually get disciplined was when I embarrassed them so badly. And my sister would just like teach me how to fight, right? Or protect myself. It's like sink or swim. And you gotta swim around these sharks and knives being thrown at your face, and the bottles and the attitudes and aggression and just disgust, like shame. You brought shame to us. You should be ashamed of yourself. I'm sorry. I'm 11 and I'm trying to survive. And I found somebody to make me feel special. I found people that think I'm special. These substances make me feel good. It's the story of addiction. I was 11 years old when we went to go and pick up some more supply, and the deal was going bad. So the dealer put his gun in the car and was like getting ready to handle his business, take care of the situation, until he seen a little girl right there next to his fucking gun. Excuse my mouth. Next to his gun. So that was the first encounter with a extreme moment of life or death. And being the little girl, even though he was doing his own no good business, it took him off his like focus and was then switched the anger into, why do you got this little girl here? Y'all better get before you bring the heat. And like, so because I was a little girl, got us out of that situation. We went and finished out our night of partying. I was coerced into taking from people, stealing from people, stealing from my family in order to go get whatever else people needed. I was used as like a supply and a demand, and just brought shame and embarrassment to anyone else. And I was annoying because I wanted to be part of the person's company. So that was that. So I was gothic and definitely broken and misunderstood. Then after the cops brought me home multiple times, truancy in school. Obviously I was skipping school, staying out all night, waking up, not going to school, waking up not home, waking up in different people's showers because they had to bring me back to life after they were finished. On those times that I actually found shelter because I couldn't go home and I couldn't go over there, so I went to hang out with these people because they're gonna enjoy my company, which was definitely my physical companionship instead. So talk about disassociation. Like, I definitely learned that it was easier to blank out for a few minutes than to try to stand up for myself and not allow things to happen, because when They were like, now you can have whatever you want. Please don't say anything. Keep it between us. Come back. Just don't get me in trouble. So those were my safe places that I found myself in and out of. And literally anywhere that I ever found myself was not safe. Everybody looked at me as I was a disgusting, out of control person, which I was. It's unacceptable, but I'm 12 years old, guys, at that time. So, homeless, slept, well, like, not homeless, but I couldn't go home, especially being way out there and feeling way this big, disgusted with myself. So I slept in the oddest places. I used to hide under stairs. I slept next to the pond. I slept in the carport. Slept like behind the bush. Just hid myself. Well, I needed to. Brought too much attention. Truancy. Shined a spotlight on my mother for not taking care of her children properly. So I went to rehab in Detroit for like 3 months. Sobered up. Started to build a relationship with God. You know, the serenity prayer, seeing my surroundings, understanding that, this ain't right, but it is what it is. Let's build some strength and knowledge and control over ourselves. So when I went back home, I came out looking crispy. They gave me all these things, right? I had some new shoes. I had some clean clothes. I had a new demeanor about me. When I got home, they're like, you went in just like 3 months ago looking like this, being this person. Now you're going to come home looking like this and be trying to be that person? Like, you're a poser. What's wrong with you? Like, you so stupid. You foolish. Who are you? Like, thank you for your support. Okay? So, needless to say, I relapsed very quickly. Not into crack. I haven't. I'm actually at 18 years sober. I'll be right back. Okay. Had to feed the baby and take a break. So, needless to say, I had relapsed and went back to my, self-sustainable tendencies, which brought more disappointment and embarrassment to the family. Nobody could trust me. I couldn't trust myself. I had no sense of normal understanding of what normal was or could be. It was just like, survive and get what you need. And disappointment. The punishments at that point were physical pummelings because, you know, you gotta stop acting like this. You bring in disappointment. Like, what kind of person are you? Nobody trusts you. You're always doing the worst of the wrong for whatever you need or want. You know, it's true, and that's why I held myself accountable, because I did put myself in these situations. I did use myself, allow myself to be used, and, you know, it's really disgusting and shameful. And when other people beat you physically for bringing shame to them, where's your worth? Where's your self-worth? My self-worth was a currency for necessity, for pleasure, for a substance to bring some pleasure or happiness into my life, or at least be able to fog me out until time passed, right? So lots of abusers, alcohol, substances, anger, projections, jealousy, shame, blame, everybody around me, any person or like relationship, personal connection was, oh, what do you got for me? What are you going to do for me? And how much of you can I call mine or use for my own pleasure? I spent a few years just living, surviving, tumbling down the hill further and further and further. Rock bottom technically was probably a long time ago. That's why there's multiple rock bottoms, you know? I kept everybody's secrets. I kept everybody's secrets because, yes, I already understood what shame was and how embarrassing I was for other people. Like, talk about the worst of worth. I had no worth, and the worth that I was able to feel or be was taken for selfish needs from everyone else. So all that was crazy and terrible. I was on probation, sneaking through the system. Like, everybody trained me. All the older people that were taking advantage of me trained me in order to be able to be of use in a negative way, to go out and get things for them or to make them feel, you know, just take what you need, not earn what you need, take what you need, have them go take what you need, and we're all going to be alright for the night. That was life. My sister and mother started to like really butt heads, so my sister ended up moving out with the neighbor, and unfortunately the neighbor was like a super insecure person, had her own things, displayed herself in a nasty way as well. Just everybody did. It was part of the environment. So therefore, my sister's pleasure came from knocking us down further. The last two left at the house, my mother and myself. So then, like, Mom had gotten a different boyfriend and had enough. Of course, Mom was out there too during those years. Everybody was out there. Everybody came in and rotated around with their chaos. So anyways, sister ended up moving. Now Mom's like, I'm down to one. Okay, we got a new masculine, and he's gonna help me move, and I got this new place, and we can go start over there and hope and wait for better days. So I had already been through rehab, been through juvie, relapsed, you know, stepped back some more, had enough of the physical, I don't know. I ended up being a tool. I was just a tool, and everybody used me in their own way. So I kind of like already sheltered down, went into my own like, keep it to yourself, because everybody's either gonna continue to use you or be disgusted in you. Nobody understands you. The people that see you are like, they won't understand. They become jealous for some reason, because I've always been a positive person and tried to come back to some sort of like normal expression or care and love concern for others and how I affected others, because that's the only concern that I had, was getting my bare necessities taken care of, and then how did that make other people feel when I was done doing that. So that takes us to about 9th grade. Of course, throughout that entire time, I was constantly suspended, had no education. Like, my education was the streets. You know, there's book smart, there's street smart. And trust me, the streets is where I had to survive. So that puts me at a new environment in 9th grade. I had just gotten out of the programs, all the rehabilitation services, orders, and I was still on probation, but Mom and the new masculine were like, oh, we're moving out of state. We can't continue this. She's been wrapped up in this for years. Is it time to release her? You know? So I got off of probation and monitoring because we were supposed to move. No, we didn't move. The masculine, like, because Mom was still drinking by that time, at 9th grade, 13 years old. So Mom was still drinking. She ended up going to school while still addicted, but she like graduated. She did real good. She put a lot of her time and effort toward the process of schooling and still holding down bills and taking care of the lifeline, as in like the house, and producing an area that kept us afloat. The masculine, her masculine, and I definitely didn't get along. He was another ex-convict. He wanted to come in being all bossy and controlling and treat me like a child and try to start disciplining me himself, which was not his place, obviously. Can we all understand how like rebellious that would make the situation in the child? Because he didn't already know. Like, don't just like telling a grown person that like, no, you're gonna only do what I'm gonna tell you to do. And I don't know you like that. You don't know me like that. Like, you're not gonna come and control me when I have been controlling my out of control life without your help, without their help, with only their like disturbing viewpoints and judgments of me. Like, that's just what it was for so long. Misunderstood. So, got off of probation. Me and the masculine were fighting all the time. So, there I went again, out the door, back to the streets. Hung out with the party house. Started a relationship with one of the people who lived in the party house. So, it gave me like the inn. It got me on the inns, and I spent a lot of time there and roaming everywhere else, trying to avoid my life at home. I would go home. I guess technically I lived there. Not really, because I was always gone. So, homeless, surfing, whatever. 13, already been through it. 14, like, I had a good year in school, but then I had gotten off of probation and I started on drugs again. So 9th grade was okay until the end, and then the summer was too much fun. Took me into a different relationship after that one finally closed out. So I left the party house. My next relationship was, I was 14 and he was 21. So, hung out, lived in his van. We ended up, like, hanging out and living at his aunt's house. And she was the coolest, most irresponsible party person herself. But she was nice enough to, like, accept me in and also have trade with me, like, babysitting. I was the person that would bring in the fun, and it was just like a supply and demand and that kind of a scenario. Completely irresponsible. 14 in this relationship. Are like way moved out of my own house by then. I went back from time to time just so she would know that I was alive, but she didn't, like, she was free. She was free from the stress, so she let us go. But I was still really young, and that's not, like, illegal to let your young wander. So, I was gone, definitely an alcoholic, real hard during those times. A lot more bad situations I found myself in. I was super possessive, as in, like, jealous, I need your attention, never trusting, you know. I was just too much, too out of control to be able to have a normal relationship at that time. So it didn't work out between me and that boyfriend. Go figure. So then he took me back home, dropped me off there. And as miserable as that was again, I was home, back focused for school, but I was already in another using phase. So skipped school, got kicked out of school constantly, got sent to the alternative school myself, had another old boyfriend, but he wasn't giving me anything that I actually could use, so I was trying to find an out there. But, you know, I'm sensitive and I always care about how other people feel, and I don't want to hurt people. So I was just kind of like stuck in between. I had already met my husband, but it wasn't the best meeting, so I totally pushed him away. He was interested, but we went our separate ways for a while. So I was with this older man again, doing the no good, naughty, drinking, smoking, all that. And I didn't want to be. So here comes my husband again. And he ends up, like, picking me up so we could get out of there, right? We went and started a new era. So we were in the same troublemaker school, the alternative high school. We were actually going, you know, trying to keep ourselves out of the trouble because, you know, no more red flags. You get in trouble and you have consequences when you, like, make it onto the radar. So we were hanging out, had finally made ourselves official. I finally found somebody that could handle my crazy, and nobody knew. Of course I wasn't gonna, like, tell my story and be like, yeah, so I'm this is the person that shaped me. And I said that carefully because I'm not that person. But these are the experiences that shaped me. This is how I know how to survive and thrive. I keep all that to myself because it paints me in a ugly picture. And I know it. So, kept it to myself. So, me and him had a great energy connection. Of course, he came from a broken up living experience as well, so I don't know. So his family accepted me. His family wasn't very aware of what was going on in their children's lives either. They were definitely in their own battles. But whatever, I was welcomed in, and we had created a strong bond, you know. So we were together for a few years, like a year and a half, before I ended up getting pregnant. So when I got pregnant is when we said that's enough of school, and we ended up moving out of state, out of Michigan down south, to try to start over somewhere new, you know, like we got a baby coming, it's time to get our stuff together, let's go to grow. We have new obligations and responsibilities, and we don't want to like take care of what we're creating in the same way we were taken care of. Hoorah. So we moved. Of course, we were really young. We couldn't actually like arrive and get everything in order and taken care of in a responsible manner. So he did what he could to pay the bills, and it's not easy. So I was 18 when we finally had our first child, our daughter. We ended up moving back to Michigan because we couldn't afford life without support, or at least the kind of like connections that we once knew. So we moved back to Michigan. Tried taking care of ourselves without becoming addicted back to the negativity again. It didn't work. Everybody was sliding down their own hills. So we moved again, and we got too many moves. We've been from Michigan to Florida and all the way through. Within our relationship together, my husband and I, we moved over 70 times. And so I was like, yo, that's enough. I quit counting. But you know, if you feel like you're not supposed to be there, what are you gonna do? You're gonna try to do something else to get yourselves into a better situation. Unfortunately, that never works. So we ended up having a few more children, a few more years go by. We're always broke, we're stressed, struggling. We finally like realized the effects of drugs, and we're like, okay, let's grow older from that, let's close that chapter. That's cool. So I started my spiritual journey, and because I always had love and faith and feelings for others, and I knew that it was important to be able to not give up. Okay, like if my mom taught me anything, she didn't give up. Like, she tried her best to keep us together and going. You know, so I started my healing journey, and I approached it many different ways. Was still not strong or confident in the person that I was. My husband and I had still like, were really immature, irresponsible, bouncing around, terrible, I know. The kids really brought us into an area of like ambition to become better. So it's taken a long time to understand the process of healing, but with different tools and approaches, I have been able to reflect on my journey, forgive others. That was way easier than myself. I have to sift through the depths of my shadows to understand that, you know, as much blame and shame and disgust that was imprinted on me and like felt by me like, as much as it was my fault for being there, it was not my fault, because all of this happened prior to the age of 16. Like, there was no time for me to develop or absorb normal society in any way, shape, or form. So it really burns my biscuit that I still have nobody in my life. I'm here being a wife, a mother. I've tried to become a healer on like Facebook for readings and, you know, just to make a couple dollars to be able to have an income, because I'm the stay-at-home mother, because it's not logical for us both to be working. So he's the worker to pay the bills and I stay home to take care of the family, like old-fashioned. Cool, but neither of us are qualified to be able to like bring in what we need. All easy peasy. Nothing's been easy peasy. And when I come onto my channel for my expression, to put myself out there, what I've been through, how I actually cope and handle things nowadays, what's important, the love that I have, you know, I'm not here to make $1 off of it, but at the same time, like, we are humans and our bills are coming in and we don't have enough for it. Nobody has enough for it. Everybody's in their own struggle. Then there's like the wants and the needs, and you can't have your necessities. You're focused on everything else. Like, I've been trying to make this video forever, but at the same time I'm a mom and I'm like, I don't want them to hear everything that I've been through all at once. And are people actually going to still listen to me as everybody's crying? And I'm too concerned about everybody else's feelings to be able to finally close the chapter of my 30-year experience thus far and finally stand confident and strong and focused in a direction to allow people and myself to finally be completely expressive. It is so important to get these things out there so maybe the selfishness will stop. I have always been something for everybody else, and I, like, as much as I do mind how things have shaped me or affected me, I have reshaped myself, and I'm very proud of it. I'm very, like, I love a fun time and like trying to instill morals and integrity into people, because like the 3 types of people that are watching, like oh my and oh my and oh, I want to tell each person how it is in a very direct way. But you know, Kelly's pulled over here and Kelly's pulled over there. But I haven't been able to start like an actual channel because I had to get this out there first. Like, my spirit guides, God gives you your path in order to share, to inspire, and to put faith in the process and strength within yourself. And, you know, it's just, it's been a long road. Now, next time, I can be a fun, happy person, and I don't have to get so deep. My point here is, please don't project your problems onto other people. Don't make immediate judgments of people. Can you be helpful? Can you understand that drugs, your own selfish needs, avoiding things, it's like, it's the death. It'll be the death of ya. It's the death. It was the death of that little girl named Kelly. Okay? So, I came out here being Moira. Moira stands for destiny or fate. K is like Kelly or karma. West is because, hey, West Coast. Like, you know, Beverly Hills, that's where I want to be. Not really, I don't want to be in Beverly Hills. I just want to have my trailer payment paid and some food in the fridge and my family together and being loved. But that's not even, like, how am I supposed to start making $1 or some donations or just anything, what do you want from life? I want other people to know that you can overcome what has held you down. And it takes a long time to build up confidence and a course of action, but it's possible. I'm sorry for the baby crying. I'm going to wrap this up. Nice to meet you. Thanks for taking a moment with Moira. Think about it, guys. Come on back anytime. I'll be here. Thank you. Bye-bye.